Do you see this right here? It's a bank account closure letter from a US bank. It was sent to a foreign-owned US LLC, which was generating over $1 million a month in revenue from online sales. The account was closed because the owner didn't have an acceptable US address, and as a result, this business was forced to temporarily shut down until he successfully opened accounts with a verified FFB, a foreigner-friendly bank. FFB is an internal classification that we use here at GlobalBanks, and as far as I know, it's the only system that tells you which US bank will accept you as a foreigner or a foreign owner of a US company, without requiring a US address, a US tax ID, showing up in person, or investing millions with the bank. We've used verified FFBs to open accounts for companies with owners from all over the world, including from places like Germany, Italy, Panama, Paraguay, Singapore, Canada, and Vietnam, as well as Australia, Brazil, Thailand, the UK, the UAE, Ireland, France. You get the point. Basically any country that isn't sanctioned by the United States. And this includes businesses selling anything from coaching to consulting, engineering services to tech companies, coding academies to investment vehicles. And this has included startups with $0 in revenue to major businesses generating millions per month. So you might be wondering then, why are you hearing about all of these businesses having their accounts closed? Maybe your company has even had its accounts closed by a US bank. So the problem isn't the type of business or the level of revenue or where the owner is based. These businesses keep getting rejected by banks because they haven't solved the number one problem facing foreign-owned US LLCs, which is a US address. But if you use a verified foreigner-friendly bank from GlobalBanks, you won't have to worry about a US address anymore, because a US address isn't a requirement to open or keep open a bank account with these banks. And let me tell you this. If you've been rejected or had accounts closed by US banks already, it's not your fault. It's because the banks you opened with aren't designed to support foreign non-resident US LLCs. And by the time you realize this, it's usually already too late. But the verified banks that you're about to access are totally different because we look at banks in a completely different way. It's a brand new way of approaching banking, and it's all about profile matching your company with the right banks. Now, no one else is doing this. Your accountant, lawyer, consultant, these guys don't understand. They just want to charge you fees for setting up your company and get paid for filing your annual returns. They don't care if you actually get a bank account open or not. And the best solution that they've come up with is selling you an overpriced US address for a few $100s a month from a shady strip mall in the middle of Alabama, forcing you to lie to the bank that you're trying to open accounts with in the first place. And guess what? This approach, it isn't working anymore. US addresses are automatically monitored by banks. They use data supplied directly by USPS, the United States Postal Service, to check if your business is using a commercial mail receiving address, or CMRA. If you are using a CMRA, the bank flags your account for closure. We're seeing this at traditional banks like Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and even digital platforms like Mercury and Wise. In fact, there's been a lot of chatter about Wise recently because they put out a notification to many US LLCs asking them to provide supporting documentation for a non-CMRA US address. And if you can't provide supporting documentation showing a non-CMRA address for your company, there's a very good chance that the account then gets closed. The point is, accounts are being closed all over the place because business owners haven't solved the problem of having a US address. Now, I've been banking overseas for over 20 years, helping businesses and high net worth individuals navigate cross-border banking and financial services. And in the last 5 years, there's been a huge increase in the number of foreigners looking for help opening and keeping open US bank accounts. But there's a secret that not a lot of people know about US banking, and it's that US banks have the ability to pick and choose who they want as clients. Now, for the vast majority of US banks, that means serving US clients, US businesses with local US operations. But there are other banks, the GlobalBanks, FFBs that we've been talking about, that not only accept foreign-owned US LLCs, but actually cater to these foreign-owned businesses just like yours. Now, not surprisingly, we keep our list of verified FFBs very private. We do this because if these banks started to get overwhelmed with new clients from all over the world, they would change their policies, increase their deposits, and become less useful and accessible to our clients. And we obviously don't want that to happen. So instead, we reserve these FFBs for the clients of our US account opening service, GlobalBanks USA. This is a service that helps business owners from all over the world successfully open US accounts, including people like James from the UK, who opened his US bank account while sitting at home in England. Long, a Vietnamese citizen and resident who opened US bank accounts without getting on a plane. Fred from Switzerland, who opened a US bank account for his African technology company. Mark, a German living in Paraguay, who opened accounts with a major US bank in New York City. And even David, an American living in Asia, we helped him open US bank accounts for his offshore company without visiting the US. Now, these are just 5 examples of people that we've helped open US bank accounts. And in a lot of cases, people have spent thousands of dollars for our help, helping them solve their banking issues, up to $10,000 per engagement through our private client services. But that's not what you're going to pay. Because like I said, we keep these global banks, FFBs, very private. You can't just swipe your credit card and get access to these banks. It doesn't work that way. First, you need to qualify, because for a lot of businesses, our services, they're not going to be a great fit. We take banking very seriously. We're going to ask you a lot of questions to help you find the right banks. And we're expensive, the most expensive solution on the market, more expensive than your lawyers, accountants, and other consultants. Because when it comes to banking, we're better than all of them. And I know that for a fact because they all come to us for help solving their client problems. Now, if you want to see if you qualify for our help navigating US banking and accessing these global banks verified FFBs, it's pretty simple. You just need to fill out a short application. It isn't long, it only takes about 2.5 minutes. And you can access it right now by clicking the link at the top of the description or in the pinned comment below. And that's it. You literally have nothing to lose. And in return, you find out if you qualify to open with the best banks in the United States for foreign-owned US LLCs. Seems like a pretty reasonable return on your time. And it gives you the peace of mind that when your US bank account closes, whether that's in the next week or in the next year, that you have backup accounts available. So you can fill out your application right there by clicking on that link at the top of the description, or go to globalbanks.com/USA. And if you don't want to apply right now, no hard feelings. You can watch this video over here where I tell you about banking in the dirtiest offshore jurisdiction imaginable. And I also tell you why we think it's a great place to bank.